Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday. That means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. Monday Night Raw after show starring Triple J, Justin LaBar, Jack Farmer, and Corduroy, Jimmy Korderas. How you fellas doing? Jimmy, as always, let's start with you. How's everything up in the Great White North?
It's fine. We had a beautiful sunny day. It's getting cooler. It's just like we like to say up here in Canada, we have two seasons: winter and construction.
And it's construction season now, right?
Well, construction season, yeah, definitely on the highways here, on the main highways. They're really doing some work on the roads, and thank goodness, a lot of working from home lately.
Justin, how's your fantasy football team doing? Because mine is terrible.
Lost again. Brady's still just kind of just murking around in the water and what have you. I'll rival Jimmy though. I'll rival him though. I think that the orange road cone should be the state flag symbol for Pennsylvania. Or at least Pittsburgh. If you've been around here lately, Pittsburgh's tough enough. I moved to Pittsburgh in the summer of 2005. It is a bizarre place to drive. You got one-way streets. You got streets that go to diagonal. You got to know which way you got to go. Obviously, you can't go anywhere without going all across a bridge or through a tunnel. And it's just everywhere. There's madness everywhere right now. I don't know if the pandemic put them behind. I mean, what's going on? But it is supposedly more people are working from home. I don't believe it.
Well, here in LA, it doesn't matter if there's construction. There's just traffic. It's part of it. Part of living life here in Los Angeles. But at least it's sunny traffic. That's what they tell you when you move down here.
Not sunny traffic here. We have like fewer sunny. We have like less sunny days in Seattle. Like they did some study like that. And I know you're from like that area, Jack.
Yeah.
It's just
wow.
Traffic and rain.
And then I can't even win at fantasy football. It'd be one thing. Yeah, it'd be one thing with traffic and rain, but I can't even win at fantasy football right now. The Commanders, they're losing to Dallas and a guy named Cooper Rush or who. Like I need like Teddy Long to block for my quarterback. I have no blocking.
Can you imagine a whole offensive line of Teddy Longs? My goodness.
Holla, player.
We need it. No one's getting through.
I need 5 Teddy Longs.
Last week, I benched all the wrong players. This week, literally everyone, no good. Just garbage all along the way. As I still yell at the Seahawks, we need to get all these we need to get a quarterback and all sorts of stuff. I can't do it, but I expect them to. Let's talk about the news, fellas. Let's get into this. We're going to start with a little case of mistaken identity and two big wigs in pro wrestling, Nick Khan and Tony Khan. Tony Khan was recently a special guest of Robbie Fox on Barstool Sports, but the president of Barstool, Dave Portnoy, I think I'm saying that name right, had a case of mistaken identity. Portnoy believed Tony Khan to be Nick Khan, the current co-CEO of WWE, with whom Portnoy has a tenacious history. The New York Journal says that it was Nick Khan back when he was a talent agent who sent an email to ESPN that that ended the relationship between Barstool and ESPN and got a show called Van Talk canceled after one episode. When they asked for questions for Tony Khan, the president said when they'd like to talk to him about when he got Barstool Van Talk canceled. Why did he then invite me to sit next to him at a fight at Madison Square Garden as his guest and pretend that I didn't know he was the one responsible? Of course, another Barstool bigwig, Big Cat, clarified that the Khan in question was AEW CEO Tony Khan, not Nick Khan. In which case, then Portnoy corrected himself and said, I got the wrong Khan. Tony we like. Nick is the guy who is full of asterisks. Then, of course, Tony Khan responded, 2 more different people we could not be. Here's to not being two-faced. Now, that's a big old story of mistaken identity. Lots of stuff that just went down there. But I think the thing everyone's going to take away, Justin, is Tony Khan called Nick Khan two-faced.
He did. I mean, I don't think he woke up. It wasn't on his agenda. Again, just to kind of summarize what you said. Tony Khan's doing a Barstool interview. Portnoy's like, oh, screw that guy. Ask him why he did this or this. And then it's like, no, wrong Khan. Different guy that you're talking about. And then Tony never mentions Nick Khan by name, but clearly is saying, it clearly is making the comments. Tony Tough Guy on Twitter lately. He's two-faced to Nick, and he's talked about WWE. Basically, kind of alluding to what we think is maybe contract tampering. And he's been very vocal on Twitter since the start of AEW. That this is not a new thing. He looked at it as let me be transparent, let me be available, let me tweet with fans. All has its good and bads to the situation. I can, on the one hand, I can admire the guy for, again, he's speaking his mind, right? He's a billionaire, he's speaking his mind, whatever. But at some point, it boils all the way down to how many references do you need to have your talent make about the other guy's show on your programming? It just starts to become like, all right, well, are you AEW, the alternative, the revolution, or are you AEW that's going to be perceived as like a troll that's going to just constantly have to just reply to whatever the other guys are doing, And again, I know he didn't wake up. I know that it wasn't on his agenda. He's kind of caught in the reaction of being accused of being somebody who he's not, being a Nick Khan to this Dave Portnoy. But still, like, why say the two-face thing? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like, what? I don't know. What's your end game out of that one? So, but it makes for good headlines. So.
It absolutely does. And I know it was a lot of stuff I had to say in there, but whenever we're talking about quoting people and saying things like that, I want to make sure I say as much as possible so I'm not misquoting anybody. But Jimmy, to Justin's point, I like it when companies take shots at each other, but there's this part of me that right now I'm thinking, WWE is killing it right now. Maybe now isn't the time to be taking shots at the WWE. But as Justin says, this does give us a fun little headline.
And real quick, just before Jimmy says it, I did misspeak. So it was Portnoy who says the guy's two-faced, and then Tony just says two more different people we cannot be. So Tony doesn't actually say Tony doesn't go out and say Nick Khan's two-faced, but Tony acknowledges said tweet, and I couldn't be more different from him. So let's just clarify that real quick.
Right.
Sorry, Jimmy.
No worries. Yeah. And I get it. Like, look, I get that you want to clarify to people that you're not the guy that they're accusing of whatever the accusations are. At the same time, sometimes it's better, especially when you are the head of a company and people look up to you, to take the high road and say, listen, you know what? They got the wrong guy. That's all there is to it. It wasn't me. I wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, it almost seems like it's people want to compare it to the Attitude Era when Bischoff and Vince were going back and forth and guys were but that was a different situation where these guys were competing on the same night at the same time. And yeah, you had a little bit of that when AEW was going head to head with NXT, but it wasn't to that extent as it was back in the Attitude Era. Trust me, I was there during the Attitude Era when they were doing the Monday Night Wars, and guys in the back watching the monitors and seeing what they're doing, and they're probably watching what we were doing and all this sort of stuff. But it just, to me, for someone who is in the CEO position or the head of the company, the owner of the company, to come out like that, it just seems small. Sometimes it's better, like I said, to take the high road and just say, hey, you know what? You said it, I didn't, and just leave it at that. It wasn't me.
Well, I don't know. And like I said, it was when there was a time when AEW was new and interesting and had a lot of buzz, and WWE was sort of in a rut, and people were kind of sick of what was going on with WWE. Then take all the shots to the world. But right now, WWE is breaking records. People are interested in it. People love it. Now's not the time to be like, those guys suck, huh, guys? Because everyone's like, actually, they're kind of cool.
And like a few other things to keep in mind. First off, Nick Khan. I mean, you think whatever you want to think about him, but none of us know him. Look. But first off, Nick Khan, I think, to perception to a lot of fans, prior to July of this past year, a lot of perception was, oh, Nick Khan's the new guy, the outsider that's came in. He has Vince's ear, and he's the reason all these releases are happening. He's the reason we're seeing budget cuts. And now Vince is gone out of the picture, and Nick Khan and Stephanie are co-CEOs. From everything Triple H has kind of said in interviews, it seems like Nick Khan kind of gets along with Triple H and Stephanie, and seems like Triple H is running he's running the book, he's running the day-to-day TV shows, and Nick and Stephanie are handling the boardroom stuff, handling the stuff that that Vince would have handled that Triple H never maybe got into in terms of, dealing with deep in business stuff. So, you look at Nick Khan, and it's like, and we've also learned The Rock, one of the most powerful guys in entertainment right now. The Rock has come out several times to talk about how he and Nick Khan go back to childhood with each other, and he shared pictures. So, and then it becomes like, all right, you start saying something about somebody who's a very influential person, not only in the business you're in pro wrestling, but also just in media in general, has people like The Rock. You just wonder when that, people talk and who's friends and alliances. And the other thing I'll say too, and I'm just going to say it because history has shown us, Eric Bischoff was notorious. Eric Bischoff went out there, called Vince out, gave away finishes, gave away shows and scripts, did all this stuff, was determined to put Vince and the people out of business so they didn't have food on the table, weren't working anymore. And then within 5-6 years later, Bischoff's having to work for Vince, something he never thought he would do, did it. Of course, it's really well documented. Him and Vince actually ended up getting along in a strange kind of relationship. I'm just saying, you never know as you're going up the mountain, if you got to go back down the mountain, who you're going to cross paths with. So again, Tony, it's entertaining for all of us, but I don't know what the gain is for you to do that.
Right. So something else that went down on Twitter that was probably a little bit more fun is a fan on Twitter expressed a desire to see MJF take on Eddie Kingston inside the ring. And MJF just said, I'll never wrestle that slob. That's when Kingston responded, "This is all I think about when I see you tweet or say anything." And he attached a GIF of John Lovitz dramatically saying the word acting as his master thespian character on Saturday Night Live. And MJF fired back, questioning Eddie Kingston's legitimacy. MJF said, "I'm as authentic as it gets. I'm sure that's real scary for a fake tough guy from the slums of Yonkers." And then Kingston paid little mind to MJF's comment, quote tweeting it with a GIF of a British actor, Rowan Atkinson, yawning. So these two getting a little bit of a Twitter scuffle. Jimmy, this makes me think that we'll probably see these two guys in a match down the road. Do you like seeing guys get started on Twitter, or do you want to see everything happen on the shows?
For me, I know it's going to sound like, oh, this guy's too old school and stuff like that. I like to see these guys, let's, for lack of a better term, cut a promo on each other on TV as opposed to doing it on Twitter. Yes, I get it. It's the wave of the future. It's social media has caught everybody by storm, but still, it is a limited amount of people who may have seen that interaction, except for when you go to a website like Wrestling Inc. and you go, oh, look at that. They were on Twitter going back and forth. And that's how people find out about it. They don't find out about it by, staying on Twitter all day long and saying, oh, look at this, look at that, look at that. Do it on TV. That's where the biggest audience is. That's where you draw money. And that's where you talk people into seats. You talk butts into seats. Yes, it's fun to see it on anti-social media and let them go back and forth and have fun with each other, taking the shots back and forth. But again, you're catering to a specific audience as opposed to a larger audience. TV is where it's still at to this day.
Justin, by the way, Jimmy, I think that everyone should be on Wrestling Inc. And following the news stories there. Whether or not you like Twitter or not, you should be at Wrestling Inc. But Justin, this is something that kind of got me. And it comes up on Raw, and we'll talk about when it comes up on Raw. But I don't like it when wrestlers allude to other wrestlers being fake. I feel like you're going out of the way to tear down your own illusion.
There's definitely a case for that. And to further that, Jack, I disagree with you. I don't think this was not to say that they can't say, okay, we're going to toss you guys in the ring now because this buzz has happened, but I don't think that's what, again, agenda. I don't think that's what the gentleman woke up this morning. I don't think it's what MJF or Eddie Kingston woke up this morning intending to do, and they had to check off on their checklist. It was, create some Twitter hype and beef between MJF and Eddie Kingston so we can sell this match in a couple weeks. No, because, I mean, if you look at it, he's on Twitter promoting the stuff with he and Yuta this Wednesday in DC. And then a fan happened just in the reply say, okay, but I got to see you in Kingston. And then MJF just decided to take that and run with it. Like, if he would have quote tweeted an AEW accounts, if AEW would have tweeted something about Eddie Kingston, a clip of Eddie Kingston doing something great, and MJF would have decided to take that and said, I would never fight that slob. Yeah, that would scream something manufactured to a point to promote it. But this wasn't. This was MJF just answering fans, which he actually does quite regularly. So I just think it's MJF. The question then becomes like, okay, that might have seemed spur of the moment of today. The question then becomes, where do the lines blur? Do these guys sit and have conversations in catering every now and again, or what have you? Are they on a text chain with a bunch of the locker room, or is it literally MJF just still kind of sticking with his gimmick, saying, "Well, Kingston's a slob. You know, he represents the slum of Yonkers. I represent the aristocrat of Long Island." Like, and then then is it when one guy hits send on the one tweet? Is he then opening up his texting the other guy saying, "Hey, just sent this tweet. Hope you're cool with it. Let's get some people talking." If that part's not happening, then it's just, we're just kind of airing our stuff out on Twitter, and I'll see you on Wednesday, and maybe I'll shake your hand. Maybe I won't. I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens going forward. That does drive a little bit of interest. Something I always like to see what will happen with is HelloFresh. What is HelloFresh? With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Have your pumpkin spice and eat it too with a rotating selection of fall-inspired items from HelloFresh Market. From brunch kits to a fall dessert board, you'll find everything you need for all of your favorite autumn occasions like tailgating, Oktoberfest, and more. Have a packed fall calendar? HelloFresh's quick and easy meals like their 20-minute recipes or low prep and easy cleanup options mean you'll spend less time in the kitchen and more time with your loved ones. This is something we all love. I think it's one of our favorite sponsors. Jimmy, you were talking about it just before we went on the air.
Yeah, absolutely. I received my package today of HelloFresh, and I am truly looking forward to it. I got some savory beef bowls that I got, chorizo and pepper tortas, and also squash ravioli and roasted cauliflower with creamy garlic sauce. That's the one I'm really looking forward to, and it allows me to go from ref to chef and have fun with it.
Absolutely. And Justin, I know you like the options it gives you as well.
I love the options. Yeah, I rave. You can do whatever kind of menu you want. If you're looking for low calorie, if you're looking for veggies, if you're looking for more meat, if you're looking for whatever it is. And so it's always fun to kind of mix and match. And as I've said in the past, they'll kind of random generate. Here's the 3 meals we're going to send you. But if there's one you look at, you're like, I'm definitely not eating that, or that ingredient something I don't like, or I'm making this for the family and the kids don't like this. You can sub out and swap in other ones. It's great. I mean, it shows up. And the quality too. They send you, again, as I said, they send you the protein. The protein's there, and then inside of a paper bag, it's all the other stuff. It's the seasonings. It's the condiments. It's the breads, maybe the what have you. And it's like it's all high quality stuff to the point of I've looked at or I've taken a picture of some of the brands of some of what they send you, the quality. And then or maybe it's the pasta is a certain brand, and then I'll go into a grocery store later. And like, if you go and find it's like top shelf brands that they're compiling, and they've aggregated essentially for you and giving you this we all well, Jimmy's a little bit older than Jack and I. Jack, you remember Lunchables? Yeah, Lunchables. Yeah, you had everything Lunchables. It's like a high end Lunchable. It's all packaged together for you and with dummy instructions. And literally, if you just kind of stick to it, you literally look like you're a gourmet chef. Now, I mean, Jimmy and I have been married for a while. For those of you out there, especially the fellas, if you're looking for some first dates, or you're looking for the first date at home, so not the going out to the movie, not the going out to neutral ground. If you're looking for the first date when she's coming to you, and you're trying to make yourself look as make your stock look as high as possible, that you have a little bit of skills in the kitchen. This is a hell of a cheat code. This is a hell of a hack that they are sending you, the ABCs and all you don't even have to go to the store. It's delivered to you. You can say, oh yeah, I got all the high end stuff. That's how I roll. And then you make it, and you're good, and have some dinner, and then whatever, however the night goes on. So I can't stress enough, HelloFresh is the way to go. Whether you are married and you need to keep a happy wife, happy life, and happy kids, or what have you, or whether you're out there just doing your own thing. It's good for a bachelor's budget of food. It's good for a bachelor who's looking, again, to have his significant other over and trying to impress and make a good first impression. So HelloFresh, I can't say enough about it.
HelloFresh, I feel like the commercial that you just pitched, Justin, is someone inviting someone over, like, look at this amazing meal I cooked, and she's like, this is incredible, as he, like, out of eyesight pushes the box of HelloFresh like towards the trash can where she can't see it.
Our entire podcast is basically, how can you catfish your potential significant other into believing you're more sophisticated than you're not. We're giving you how to prepare the meal. We're telling you how to shave your balls. Some episodes, I mean, like, really, it's.
Yep.
Yeah. All we need is the Blue Chew ad. But
there you go.
Beginning, middle, end.
Yes. And then it's an Uber ad. But we have to continue on. So before we get into the show, as always, I love to do the roll call and thank everyone for being with us here in the chat. Ricky, Ethan, Dylan, Himanshu, and let me know if I'm saying your name right, Himanshu. Ian Adams, Baby Ice, Peter in the chat. Always good to see you, buddy. Stalking you, representing Dexter, I'm guessing. Casey J, Dream Realm Studios, Dream Realm Studios. Thank you guys so much for being in the chat, and the Swerve Show, by the way. Thank you guys, everyone who's here. Also, if you're listening to us later, 5-star review or a comment, or a like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, by the way, leave us a 5-star review and say Triple J is your favorite. I might give you a shout out if you do that too. I want everyone to be like, Raw, Triple J, that's our favorite review show. And then I can lord it over everybody else, like Issa and Alfred and Glenn, and be like, haha, we're the best show. I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but let's.
Do you laugh like that to your coworkers?
Of course. Like, Jax, you have a good weekend? Yes, I did. Speaking of sinister laughs, we start with Judgment Day, and they come out, and Finn says that he will act as fate and make Edge quit. Priest runs down Rey Mysterio, and then Dom says his new family is the Judgment Day. Finn says he could end AJ's career, but since they're friends, he's going to give them another chance to join Judgment Day. We get AJ and Mysterio versus Judgment Day there. 4 great wrestlers give us a great match, and Finn gets the win. The story, though, is after the match, AJ is mad that Rey got distracted by his son and shoves Mysterio before Judgment Day beat the friendship into him and say that they're friends. Jimmy, what is next for AJ? That's the question after this match.
Absolutely, because, they're telling 2 stories here. They tell the story with Dominic and Rey, where Dominic was telling his dad on his knees, hit me, and Rey, doing the old, I will never hit you, that kind of thing. And now at the end of the match, AJ kind of blaming Rey for the loss and shoving him down. And then the beatdown goes down afterwards, which Rey doesn't come back to help for. So the seed is planted there. Now we're going into Survivor Series, which they already said is not going to be brand versus brand. It could be maybe Judgment Day versus Team Mysterio, or whatever the case may be. Maybe AJ is a part of Team Mysterio. Again, fantasy booking here. And during the, is it a War Games match? Is it the 2-ring match that they're doing at Survivor Series? Yeah. AJ that's where the switch happens, and he sides with his old buddy, if you know what I mean.
Ooh, so you think that we're going to get AJ, he will have the friendship beaten into him, and he'll be friends with them. Maybe
it's more along the lines of, look, I could put my trust in these guys because I know they'll have my back, even though they're heels. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, whatever. And and Finn and I go back a long way, and do the hand gestures and that sort of stuff.
Justin, this one, and this happened a lot on this episode, I feel like, but how did you feel about this one sort of wrapped up going into Extreme Rules, but also the options that they have coming out of Extreme Rules?
Well, and that's just it. It's options, right? Because, again, as it stands now, they're not going with. They're sticking with one world champion in the men's, obviously Roman Reigns, which has been a benefit for Bobby Lashley, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. It's elevated that U.S. title on Raw. It's made that the title to chase on Raw, but obviously only one person can challenge at a time, essentially. So it's like it is the options. It's okay, and we know who Lashley is going to face next Monday. So it's like, all right, what are we doing here? Are we planting the seeds for AJ and Ray having some trust issues, but Ray's going to have to call upon AJ to battle Judgment Day at a War Games coming up in 6-7 weeks from now. There really is up. Then you look at okay, well, who are my baby faces? All right, on Raw. Who are okay, Riddle, and then what's going to happen with him and Seth this week? AJ. Like, you look at who your top baby faces are, and it's like, what are you asking of them? Again, especially if, Reigns and the world title remains on SmackDown, but we don't know. Reigns is going to be on Raw next week for the season premiere. So it really is options, which is not a bad thing. It keeps the viewer guessing. It certainly provides opportunity for the creative people to go different routes. There's also questions, too, about this Survivor Series with the War Games. What does that mean? Does that mean there is a men's and women's War Games match for each show, which that would make 4 War Games? That might be a little watered down.
Yeah.
Because you have Judgment Day on Raw, which that's a perfect faction for War Games, but you also have the Bloodline on SmackDown, so they would make perfect for the War Games, but they're both heels. So I don't think they're going to be against each other. Or is the men's War Games match going to have 4 teams? Are we going to see 2 teams from Raw, 2 teams from SmackDown, and we let storylines just kind of converge? Same with the women. So it's still a lot of questions out there. That's okay. They don't need to tell us all that yet. We still have Extreme Rules and the Saudi show before Survivor Series, so they can hold off on the specifics. But it does create, back to what you said, options of where are we going, and maybe what they did tonight with AJ and Ray, maybe they did it. They might not have a plan to necessarily use it 4 weeks from now, but they did it just in case. And it's something they could go. It's a seed that might start to blossom a little bit, and then go back to that and water it some more if they need to. So again, nothing about that is wrong, because everything that happened tonight was pretty logical. AJ was mad at Ray for losing the match. Ray didn't come back to help him because he just got treated pretty disrespectfully. So
yeah, if you shove me on my butt, I'm not coming back to help you. That's just the way it goes. That's just the rules of the streets.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you had mentioned Bloodline, though, Justin. We did get a super chat from Steven here asking, friend of the show, Steven, thanks for tuning in, asks, if Reigns versus Rock happens at WrestleMania, does that remove the shine from a potential Cody Royal Rumble win? Jimmy, I feel like there's a lot of time between now and then and a lot of ifs in there, but what are your thoughts on that question?
It's very interesting because obviously we the rumor that's been going on for how long now that the main event at WrestleMania will be, because it's in LA, family member versus family member, Roman Reigns versus The Rock. But at the same time, I don't see The Rock entering the Royal Rumble and winning it. But you never know sometimes. Maybe that would be the case. I mean, they did have surprise entrants back in the day as well. When John Cena was the surprise entrant at number 20, the last entrant into the Royal Rumble, when they had 20 back then. And it's, I don't know, the rumors out there that Cody could be the guy in line for it, but maybe that's not the time for him either. I don't know. So it is a bit of a conundrum, because usually the person who wins the Royal Rumble is the one who goes to WrestleMania to face the champion. And will Roman Reigns be holding both titles at that time? Is there a rumor where they may split the titles off again and have one specifically for Raw, one for SmackDown?
There's that factor of there might be more than one world title match. There's also the factor of, look, it seems like based upon the timeline of when Cody got hurt and what the general timeline was for the rehab of his injury, that it kind of ran up to Rumble. Like, okay, Rumble's the perfect time. Let's throw this scenario. Maybe Cody Rhodes is ready end of January in time for Rumble. He's physically okay to do it. But they say, no, you know what? We got Rock, if they have Rock. That's big if. We got Rock, and then rattle off the other big attractions. Again, this is Triple H's first Mania. I don't think he's going to hold back on making sure he delivers to the company and to the shareholders, to the public, for his first Mania that he's control of. Just put that out there. So let's say they have The Rock and they rattle off all the things they have for Mania. Maybe they say, we don't need Cody. let's give Cody an extra 2 or 3 months to rest, to rehab, get his mind right, get his body right. Let the fans start. He doesn't show up at Rumble. Let the fans start guessing. Oh my God, when is he coming back? Or how hurt is he? And he comes back the night after Mania. He comes back on that pivotal Raw. That's the night after Mania. And whatever happens between Reigns and Rock, he confronts one or both of them. So let's not get so sucked into that Cody Rhodes is definitely coming back at Rumble, wins a Rumble. If they have enough that they feel like they can sell them and sell tickets and deliver a show between January on the entire road to Mania, maybe you hold Cody for the start of that new WWE calendar year, which is that night after Mania.
Yeah, that's absolutely all valid points. And I always say, Royal Rumble's a long ways away. I mean, we got to go through Halloween. We got to go through Thanksgiving. We got to go through all the December holidays. We got New Year's. And we've got a whole month of January before we get to the Royal Rumble. So a lot can happen. And a lot of people who we may believe as the people who might get those shots can come and go, and a lot can change between now and then. But
absolutely.
We shall see how that plays out. Now, the next segment here we got is Bobby Lashley. He's backstage. Now, I did a little bit. There's a few things that are broken up, so I bundled a few things together, so it goes a little more, flows a little bit better here. Bobby Lashley and Ali, they have a nice little run-in together. Bobby's cutting a nice little promo, and Ali comes up and he asks, no, he demands a title shot. And Lashley goes out there, says, no problem, gets another title defense. But the story here is the heart of Ali and winning the respect of Lashley. That's the story of the match. The story of the aftermatch, however, is that Rollins stomps Lashley and Ali. And we're told later in the show that next week it's going to be Lashley versus Rollins for the U.S. title. Justin, we're going to get into what happens with Riddle and Rollins in a little bit. But with this segment, do you feel like maybe they telegraphed the end of the fight pit by having a title shot for Rollins after on Monday?
Yeah, I absolutely don't like this. One of my notes. I don't like the fact that Seth Rollins has this match where they have been. His stuff with Riddle has been going on since summertime, like early middle summer. So it's like it's got length. I mean, they're getting personal, talking about kids and wives. This big payoff match, this gimmick match, and then you're telling me that he's gonna have a title match 2 days later. So, there's several. There's the problem of promotion and marketing. It just, you're trying to tell me this fight pit and Daniel Cormier, whatever. Now you're telling me that he's going to challenge for Bobby Lashley. I also don't like, okay, well, that mean he's definitely winning the fight pit? You're not going to have him lose a fight pit and then automatically be a challenger to I don't like it. I know that it's the season premiere, which is weird because there's no off season, but it's a season premiere in television world. I know you're trying to have things to promote and advertise. Totally get it. But you have a lot already. There's other matches they promoted. Of course, DX, a big thing. Who knows what comes out of Extreme Rules? So I just don't know if they needed to do this of having Rollins be advertised as a challenger for Lashley. I don't like this at all.
Now, and Jimmy, I definitely want to get your thoughts on this. But real quick, Justin, for the premiere, the season premiere, is there a reason it's right now? Like, is there an actual date reason, or is it just a random, like, let's just pick now to do a season premiere stuff?
Well, I mean, obviously season premieres in the television world happen around this time. If you look at dramas and sitcoms and other things on TV, I don't know if it's a steadfast hard date. I think part of it obviously is, well, we're not going to have the season premiere be the go home show of Raw before a pay-per-view, or premium live event. So I think there's some wiggle room of when it is, but it is meant to be, we're entering the fall season, so we need to pick a date in this range. And obviously you're going to pick the Monday after that pay-per-view, after that premium live event. It's so hard to break that down. You're going to pick
a long time.
Yeah, you're going to pick that next show because you can reset stories a little bit.
Right.
Now, Jimmy, I wanted to ask you about this with Ali. Was this a classic case of Ali getting over without going over for you?
To a certain extent, yes. But the one thing that bothered me about that, and to answer your question, he did to a certain extent, but not as much as, it was your classic big, strong guy versus little guy. That's, speed versus strength and that sort of thing. But the one thing that bothered me was I thought there was an opportunity there to get Ali a little more over when they did that spot where he did the twisting splash on Bobby's left arm.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the commentators, he could, probably hyperextended his arm. He didn't sell it that long. And I get it. Bobby Lashley is being portrayed as a monster, but at the same time, he could have done that offense, but continue to, you know, sell that arm. It went from he's selling the arm a little bit to all of a sudden he's doing all these big moves and not putting that move over, which was very impressive. That part I didn't like. But at the same time, Ali stood his ground for a good portion of the match. So he did get over to an extent, but not as much as he could have, if that answers your question.
Yeah. I think he definitely earned some time on TV again, but we'll have to see what they have planned for him. We talked about Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle and their face-to-face, so let's kind of talk about that real quick and sort of cover it completely. Rollins comes out, shows us a video of the fight pit, and says that he's the most dangerous man in wrestling, and considering he took out Rey Mysterio's eye, he's probably not wrong. Riddle gets a sing-along going, so they get back to their personal shots. Then, via video, Daniel Cormier stops it by saying he's going to keep the order. Jimmy, I want to go back to you. How do you feel about Cormier coming in and taking a ref's job?
I don't have a problem with special guest referees in certain situations, and this one being a fight pit, which is supposed to be more MMA stylish. I don't mind this coming in because, let's be honest, professional wrestling referees / sports entertainment referees aren't quite as astute in the MMA version of it. Yes, they're supposed to be able to, and whatever the case may be. But at the same time, when you bring in a star like that to be a special guest referee, like a Daniel Cormier or somebody like that, I know people are out there that, well, they had a Ken Shamrock who was in the WWE and was part of MMA, but that is so old school that it may not attract younger viewers. Now you're talking to an audience that knows who Daniel Cormier is and going, what is Daniel Cormier doing in WWE? And he is a fan. He does enjoy it. So I don't have a problem with it. I know people say, well, it would have been cool to be a part of that. Yes, it would be. But at the same time, it's a business and you're looking to make money and look as a company. And yeah, it would be fun to referee a match like that for me, at least anyways. But at the same time, I could also put two and two together and understand why this is done this way.
I'm just saying, if UFC has a ladder match, I hope they call you, Jimmy.
Well, if they have a TLC match, I'm available, Dana.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Justin, how do you think Cormier did? Just in his promo, and I think we probably all would agree, it probably would have been better if he was there in person. But based on the circumstances, how do you think he did cutting a promo tonight?
Pretty good, because it was a pretty lengthy deal. Obviously, again, it was taped, so we don't know how many takes it might have took to get it done. But he had a lot to say, and it did not look. I'm watching. It didn't look like he's following a prompter. It looked like he was just he got some notes, and he was trying to just deliver the key points to the story. So I thought, for again, however many versions it took, if it took several, this final product, it worked out just fine. Yeah, of course, it would have been great to have him there in person, but I think by the nature of the fact that they announced this on social media over the weekend, so just a week away from the premium live event, that tells me that they just got the deal done with him. Obviously, if they would have got the deal done 2 weeks ago, they of course would have promoted it probably 2 weeks ago to get the most out of get the most return on the investment. But I thought for what it was great. It does open up, kind of, again, opportunity. Like, is this just a one-off? Does this lead to Daniel Cormier fighting in Saudi Arabia against one of these guys? It's I'm interested, and of course he's very credible, so it makes sense that he's officiating in this unique match. Assuming all
Bray Wyatt, White Rabbit stuff is off the table, Justin, is that the main event? It feels like Riddle Rollins is the most heated rivalry that they have going into this.
That's a great question, and I tweeted that earlier. That's the biggest thing to watch about Extreme Rules, right? There's no men's world title match. There is the women's, but there's no men's. And so if we're on the assumption that this White Rabbit stuff is going to, first off, conclude with a reveal at Extreme Rules, and assume that it's going to be more involved with the men's division, not the women's,
Mm-hmm.
then what ends Extreme Rules is something to watch, because if these reveal, if it's Bray or if it's some formula of what we're all speculating, you can't put it on anywhere but last, because anything after it's going to be overshadowed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what ends last is very interesting. Whether it's and then you also have to think about the gimmicks. The fight pit is a structure of its own. So does that go on last from a logistics standpoint? Does that go on first somewhere else from a logistics standpoint in the arena? So
because there are no ropes in this thing, right? So they do have to take the ropes down, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So like I think that's right. Yeah. So do they have a separate ring set up on the arena floor in Wells Fargo? And is that the first thing they do? Like, there's so many things that logistic wise and whatever. So that's one of my biggest things to watch for is the lineup is what gets positioned where, because there really is no clear cut winner. I don't think, Jack, of who should be the final match at Extreme Rules. I think it is going to be dictated on, well, what shenanigans are going to happen during or after it.
Jimmy, how quickly let's say they had to take the ring down, the ropes off. How quickly could WWE get the rings back up if they had to take them off and put them back on?
You'd need a good crew, and especially because, man, it would take a little bit of time. I know you can have one guy on each corner putting the ropes up, but at the same time, somebody's tightening, and it's got to be tightened to a certain tightness and the whole bit. And you've got cables that run underneath that people forget about, that go from corner to across corners as well. So when you take the ropes off, that the poles will tend to blow out. The ropes kind of pull the poles in as well. So if you got a good crew, you might be able to do it in 5 minutes.
Okay,
which isn't too bad.
Right.
But if you want it done right, you know what I mean. You can't rush it.
5 minutes is still a pretty long video package to show.
Yes,
too.
Absolutely.
But mind you, ever since they went to Peacock, because there are people that don't have the top tier version of Peacock, they insert these like basically commercial breaks after each match, each segment. So there basically is 5 minutes between. No, not discrediting what Jimmy said. You still need to have a good crew and hope it all goes right. But there is the format of the premium live events has become more formulaic of match, 5 minute cooldown, match, 5 minute cooldown, because of the nature of the distribution of Peacock.
Yeah, and also really quickly, just this is a point that Justin made earlier about the possible reveal at the pay-per-view. Maybe that leads to something where Seth Rollins becomes incapacitated and can't compete next Monday night in that match against Bobby Lashley.
That would be nice.
What if the White Rabbit buries Seth Rollins in tools and then they end the match that way? Like Hell in a Cell. No.
I don't know.
What if the White Rabbit is Cormier? No, that would
No.
What if the White Rabbit is Vince McMahon?
Oh, that would be even better.
No,
Dylan Matthews. It's all the worst people. I'm like, yeah, come on. Dylan Matthews in the chat says he's calling it Cormier versus Brock at Crown Jewel. Jimmy, would that get you interested in Crown Jewel if you weren't going to watch it anyways?
I don't know. Cormier versus Brock at Crown Jewel in a pro wrestling match. Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see how that works out and how much cooperation there would be. Can they coexist?
I want to see them as a tag team. Terry Allen Jr. in the chat asks, and Justin will send this one to you, what changes could occur at the season premiere? I'm guessing new entrance videos for the shows.
Yeah, resets always, I joked on Twitter somebody last week, the Raw song, the Raw theme song kind of is what it is. I'm waiting for Triple H to roll out some Motorhead or something,
right,
to change the pace of the Raw song.
It's time for Raw.
Yeah, new theme song. They always alter the graphics. Maybe they alter the set a little bit. Just the normal things. Just a little fresh coats of paint. but probably nothing. But cosmetically, probably that's where it's going to be. I mean, I think we've seen so much change organically happen just because of the regime change in terms of just philosophy and booking. So yeah, I mean, just cosmetics would be.
Speaking of fresh coat of paint, what I would love to see is if they got rid of just the black and red and then made it like splattered paint colors everywhere.
No.
And we called it Raw 2.0.
No.
No. Okay.
Check, please.
And Cormier's the White Rabbit. Yes. So we got a Miz segment. We hear he's going to celebrate his birthday next week. Dexter almost gets him, and Corey Graves says he's going to DM Maurice for some reason. Later in the night, Gargano finds Miz passed out with a picture from Dexter. Jimmy, if I don't bring this segment up, people are going to say we skipped it or missed it, but I don't really know what to add to this. It feels like it was just to tell us that they're going to do the same Miz stuff that we kind of get with Miz TV every week anyways.
Yeah, it just that it seems like he's had so many opportunities now, Dexter Loomis, that if he wanted to physically harm the Miz, he could have done it by now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's for some reason he hasn't done it yet. And I'm, as you know, I'm an advocate for taking your time to tell the story, but I think this one is taking too much time to get to that point. Whether he is going to attack him or does he want to be friends with him? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Would love that if he was like, I just want to be your friend. I admire your ability to speak.
I don't know. I think, yes, like I said, I am an advocate for taking your time to tell a story, but sometimes you can stretch it out a little too long.
Yep. And Justin, anything you want to add to this whole?
Yeah, just like Jimmy said, I mean, this has been a long running thing going for a couple months. But, they've had the Easter eggs for a long time of, Loomis trying to jump the barricade and all this stuff. I'm just getting to the point of like, again, why am we're still cheering this guy. We're still like, yay, when he like creeps around a corner or through a window. But yeah, why? I know the Miz is the most unlikable talent. I know that he plays his heel role to a T and he commits to it. He's the Miz is like the closest thing to an MJF that WWE has in the sense of he really owns being a heel. Granted, I know that he then will go and do media and go and do a reality show and he'll be a loving husband, loving father, and that's not what but again, why are we cheering Dexter? We don't know why Dexter's obsessed with stalking the Miz.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what wrong did the Miz do to Dexter that we haven't learned about? Or to Jimmy said, is it Dexter just wants to be friends and he's a bad communicator? Like, I don't know. So I'm interested every week in the segments. I know that they're going to be on the show, but I am getting to the point of where I'm like, all right, you slow play this enough. You got to give me something tangible to attach to here.
Because at this point, Miz having a match with him, I'm kind of rooting for the Miz. Like, you're gonna finally get rid of this guy because he's like scared of it. I don't know if he feels like the underdog now. Strange, but
or again, is Dexter part of all this White Rabbit noise? We're all looking at Bray as part of the White Rabbit, and I think I'll say this: I think Bray Wyatt has to show up sooner or later. I think that the QR codes that come up, there's pictures that pop up, and the picture was a picture that he tweeted in 2021. Like, I think Bray is too much connected to the speculation that they had, that whether Bray was part of this when they started the White Rabbit stuff or not, Hunter better have picked the phone up and said, all right, you're coming back to work because too many people think it's you and I got to deliver you.
Yeah.
But whether Bray is part of it, but then it's like, okay, you get Bray, you get the pop, but then like there's other elements. Dexter's involved in it.
Right.
Karrion Kross is involved in it. Alexa, whatever. I think at this point, that we have to kind of consider that Bray should probably be a part of this, but maybe there's other layers to this that a new Wyatt family or whatever, and maybe that gives us some answers to the Dexter Loomis part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone they can deliver realistically that's not Bray Wyatt that would make people okay with it not being Bray Wyatt. Obviously, if it was The Rock, we'd be like, oh, that's cool too. But like, as far as a realistic, no.
No. Yeah, I think you're right, Jack. If it's anybody other than Bray Wyatt, I think there'll be a big disappointment.
Yeah, and really
And,
setting that person up for failure.
And Triple H knows that.
Yes, I think he's a smart guy. Trust me.
He's not gonna put somebody out. You know,
Yeah.
like I know that the code or whatever tonight, I guess spelled out Gacy or something like. You know, Joe.
Yeah.
Like again, maybe there's hanger-ons that are gonna get elevated out of this. Maybe there's again a new Wyatt family, a new cult following, but I think H knows. They've put so much time into this, and this has got such traction. He's got to deliver certain things to this.
Is there any I'm just speculating here, but is there anything to possibly, because they've teased a few people like Aleister Black and Bianca Belair and stuff throughout this, now Gacy today. Is there anything to them possibly just seeing what Twitter and how social media reacts to different names by doing this?
You can make that case, but at the same time, I think there is a game plan in place here. I think they've already got their mind made up on who it is. It's just they're doing a wonderful job of keeping it a secret.
I meant more like, wow, a lot of people are really interested in Joe Gacy. Maybe we should call him up. Or
no, because all that happens is, again, most people's minds have been made up. It should be Bray Wyatt. So when you see a code spell out Gacy, you just get a groan of. It's not a fair barometer to the character of Joe Gacy on NXT, because the barometer is not, oh, what do you think of Joe Gacy on NXT? Oh, he's great. No, what do you think of if Joe Gacy is the reveal, the way of it? No, it should be Bray Wyatt. You know, so it doesn't really work that way. I think it's just a way to deflect. It's who on our lineup could we throw out there as a what do they call them, like red, like just distractions, red herrings. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of distractions, we had a match with Candice LeRae and Dakota Kai, and it was a nice one until Bayley caused a distraction that caused Candice to lose and Dakota Kai to get the win. Jimmy, Raj Giri tweeted after this, beating Candice LeRae already? Question mark.
I get it. There was outside interference and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, we've been getting a little bit too much of that. We had it earlier. We had some referee distractions, for lack of a better term. We had some coming up after this as well. I think they're using that far too often. And I agree. She debuted last week far too soon to take the loss here, I think. I agree with Raj.
Justin, do you think now Candice LeRae losing, no, not very great, but Dakota Kai got a win. Is it worth the loss to Candice LeRae?
I don't love it, but they are heavily invested in the damage control group. So I can, and it's a pretty old school booking philosophy if you're going into the premium live event that you get the heels are going over. So again, don't love it. Could you have found a different? Does Candice have to have this match? Can you put a different woman in there? Let Candice be on commentary just to keep her relevant to her problems with the group, whatever. I mean, yeah, there's other options, but don't love her losing, but I see why it happened, but it's not, it wasn't something I was going to be held up on tonight. It was what it was.
We now we got a 2-match combo pack after that, is what I call it. Johnny Gargano versus Otis starts. Johnny attacks Theory at the commentary table, and then Theory retaliates by hitting Johnny and costing him the match. A beatdown occurs afterwards, and Braun Strowman makes his way to makes the save. That leads to Braun Strowman versus Chad Gable, which was way more competitive than I would have expected. And Gable actually came across like he could be quite the legend killer. But it ends with a power Braun and Omos watching on. Later we're told we're getting Austin Theory versus Gargano on Raw. Justin, this was a bad night for the Garganos.
Yeah, it was. To your point, they made Braun versus Chad, and of course it's Chad's hometown, and you want to. So I get that they're not going to have him get squashed. I thought they did their best to make this last and work and make this believable of why Chad is continuing to avoid just getting powerbombed by Braun. So that's all fine. I'm curious to see obviously they're teasing to an Omos versus Braun. When Braun his last run, he was a monster among men. Now the graphic and the tagline, he's the monster among monsters, which kind of hints towards him taking on a guy like an Omos who is legit taller than him, which is hard to say, hard to believe. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. Omos is still very green, still very young. I'll just be curious what they try to get out of that. You wouldn't think that they want, Braun's a made man. He's $1 million man. They're not going to squash him. I don't think they would just squash Omos, but I'll be curious to see what kind of rub or elevation they can get out of Omos working with Braun, if that is in fact the route they're going, which it seems like they are. So I like seeing Braun back. I think he's a great talent. I think he passed the test.
Yeah.
You see this guy anywhere, airport, sidewalk, coffee shop, whatever. You're like, holy shit, who is he?
Yeah.
And he's got the athleticism to back it up.
Yeah, he just looks like a pro wrestler. And but it is interesting. Omos versus Strowman, both guys who are big, unstoppable forces. Will be interesting to see how that one plays out when it comes around. Jimmy, I was rooting for Chad Gable, like especially after that German suplex.
Yeah.
You think that was supposed to happen? Is that just something that because it was his hometown that I kind of was cheering for Chad Gable and it will never happen again?
Yeah, I think that has a little bit to do with it, and also that Braun Strowman sold well for Chad Gable, and we talked earlier tonight about going over without getting over. Getting over without. Yeah, I got it backwards there. Getting over without going over. I think Chad Gable did a lot of that tonight, and looking and hanging, being able to hang with a monster like Braun. And yes, it is his hometown, and I get that, but at the same time, Chad Gable is one of the most underrated talents out there. He is good he's entertaining on the mic. He's almost like this generation's Kurt Angle without, being at the level of Kurt Angle, but the potential is there. And it's just a matter of time if they can tap into that, because I could see it in him.
And by the way, Kurt Angle is like an all-timer. So not saying at the level of Kurt Angle is not a put down in any stretch of the imagination there.
No.
Last thing about this part, Justin, is it weird we're getting Theory versus Gargano next week? It feels like that was a premium live event build they were doing.
No. This goes in the formula of what we've been seeing. They like to have matches to promote for Raw. They have some build, have some story behind it. This has some story and build behind it. So there's no room. There's no room for it in Extreme Rules. It's not at the level yet of we need to have a gimmick. We need to have hardcore element. But there certainly is an issue there. So let's put it out for Raw. Let's put it out for the season premiere. Let's put it out to have something advertised, which I think is perfectly fine. Again, because every premium live event, Austin Theory is on his own watch of would he be cashing in here. So I think it makes sense that Raw and SmackDown have been consistent in we're going to give you things to tell you that's coming up next week. We're going to have creative direction that's going to stay consistent and linear, and you're going to at least know a couple matches you can bank on that are going to happen next week, and this falls right into it.
Right.
We get a couple things that happen now. Contract signing. We got Bayley, who doesn't bring out Damage Control, says during the contract signing that the ladder match is symbolic for people who haven't already gotten it, that it's about climbing the ladder to success. Bianca says no one connected with Bayley because she was being fake when she was being a hugger. And now she's shown who she really is. But backstage, Damage Control beats up Bliss and Asuka, and Bayley uses the distraction to attack Bianca and set up our main event for later in the night. I feel like, Justin, that they really stuck the landing with this rivalry, as far as sometimes rivalries feel like they maybe go a week too long, or maybe they need another week to build. But it feels like this one, in my opinion anyways, sort of timed out perfectly. Like, I'm ready for this match. There's nothing more to say, but it doesn't feel like it's been drug on.
Yeah, the timing feels good. Also, I like it was just a nice take on the contract signing. It was, you need to have some conflict take place, but I like the way they did it in terms of the heels, doing the attack backstage. So overall, nothing more need to be said. There's not much more that Bayley and Bianca need to say or do to each other. And so I thought this kind of was a nice job.
Yeah, and Jimmy, before we get into the main event, we'll have a few other things too, but obviously we'll talk about this more in the main event. Is this is another one where it feels like all these participants have little rivalries they can branch off to afterwards.
No, absolutely, and this is in a situation where you have two factions, for lack of a better term, that, like you said, can branch off, and you can have the tag team rivalry for the titles, and you can have the championship rivalry for the singles title as well. So there's lots of avenues you can pursue here, and like Justin said, at least it was different. It was a distraction backstage that took Bianca's attention, instead of Bayley's cohorts coming in and jumping her like it. Like your basic contract signing where it happens, like that. And the other thing I liked was Bayley explaining her current situation and why she is the Bayley she is now, as opposed to the Bayley she was, and with the ponytail on the side and the whole bit like that. I love that explanation. It came out well, and it actually made the crowd kind of turn on her, because you could tell Bayley's kind of in the same situation that Becky is in, where they kind of want to cheer for her still, despite the fact that she's a heel. But I think she kind of changed some minds tonight, at least with the live audience.
Right. And I think that explaining why you change is so important. I think that was the reason why none of us connected with Edge and his change when he became bad guys, because his explanation didn't feel real. It was just as we always made fun of you people. And we were cheering you. What are you talking about? We were all fans of you. Where it felt she explained it in a way that made it make sense, which I think was good for her. We do have a couple of things to get to, though. We have a Bloodline in the house on Raw, which is always fun to see. Early in the night, Sami and Jimmy and Solo are all joking around, having a good time, but then Jay shows up and makes everyone get back to work like a mid-level manager. So Sami tells the Street Profits that Roman is coming to the season premiere, and words are exchanged, and we find out that Tez is injured. And we get Solo versus Dawkins later in the night. Later in the night is now. So Solo Sikoa versus Angela Dawkins is hard hitting, and Solo is about to get the win, but bickering between Sami and Jay distracts the ref. Dawkins takes to the sky, takes out the Bloodline, but the distraction there is too much, and Solo hits the spinning Solo to get the win. Jimmy, you're sighing. I bet it has to do with the fact that the referees today aren't as eagle-eyed as you were, and weren't there to make the count.
No, I see. I don't mind using a ref distraction in a finish, but when it happens several times in the same show, it makes it mean nothing, because the heat does not go to the talent, to the heels where it's supposed to go. It goes to the referees, especially when it's done in a way where there was one ref distraction tonight where the referee, and you can see from the side shot, there was interference going outside the ring, and you can see the side view of the referee. Yes, he has a peripheral vision. How did he not just go like this, like a 45-degree turn, and go, "Hey, what the heck's going on?"
It wasn't great when Rhea and Dom again were attacking Ray.
Yeah, just. But again, like I said, that's the exact point that I was just trying to describe just now. Thank you, Justin. I was trying to think of the exact match, but again, referee distractions happening too often. When you do too much of the same sort of finish, obviously the pinning situation is different in each match, but again, it's off a referee distraction, and the referee distraction is not done in a creative way that makes the heel look like he's manipulating the referee, as opposed to the referee looking like, "Hey, I got to go with this guy right now, and so I don't see what happens," and it just doesn't come off well.
We do get a Solo Sikoa win, though, and I think that he's been doing a lot of good things. But Justin, I want to talk to you about Sami Zayn. Now, obviously, the big needle mover is Roman Reigns right now, but am I far off by saying that Sami Zayn is the most interesting character in pro wrestling right now? Maybe not the ticket seller. I'm not saying he's the one that is moving the needle the most, but as far as just like someone who's entertaining and intriguing, I mean, is he there?
Yeah. Obviously, he's not the ticket mover, but he presents again some of the most creative opportunity. It's such a fresh situation. I tweeted kind of to movie fans will pick this up. I equated it to the movie Blow. Sammy's like he's like the Boston George. He's the crazy, obnoxious Boston George. He's like the Boston George in the sense of he's the outsider to Pablo Escobar and the rest of the family, But as long as they keep winning, as long as the operation continues to be a success, of course, Pablo Escobar, in this case, is Roman Reigns, Sammy's not to be touched by instruction of Roman Reigns. Roman is, you don't touch this guy, everything's fine. So it presents endless opportunities. You have the Jey Uso and Sami problems. You have the Sammy's kind of like hitched his wagon to be in the tag team with Solo, and Solo's like, all right, well, we're kind of winning, so yeah, but you're also like, who are you? And then you have Jimmy Uso, who's like all about Sami, and it does present just so many options for things.
Yeah.
Like you can the three of us could sit in a room for 30 minutes and we could come up with probably 10 scenarios of this happens at War Games. Or no, I got a better one. Let them stay together. This happens at Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
No. I got a better one.
Yep.
Roman works Rock. This happens at Mania. Like, and that's a beautiful thing when you have so much context and layers that you could draw it out. That is so long gone missing in WWE. It's wonderful they're doing it. Sammy's is making it work. The honorary Uso stuff. I hope the merch is making him some money. It's great stuff.
Yeah. I bet that honorary Uso shirt is moving like crazy because I always say what made the NWO shirt popular, in my opinion, is that if I wear a Four Horsemen shirt, I'm just saying I like the Four Horsemen. But when I put on an NWO shirt, I am NWO for life. And I feel like if I put on a Bloodline shirt, well, I'm not a part of the Bloodline, but I can be an honorary Uso. So I can be that if I put that
to
on.
that point, though, the shirt concept's great. The honorary Uso, because I thought the same thing. That's a huge. Who wouldn't want to buy that shirt and say I'm an honorary Uso?
Right.
It says SZ for Sami Zayn. I think they need to WWE Shop needs to make it customizable, where you could put your initials in. So I could put in JL honorary Uso.
Yes.
Do that. Nice. Still give the royalty. Still give the cut to Sami because it's Sami's character and it's his story that's garnering that. But make it a customizable shirt where Jimmy could put in JK honorary Uso. I think that's another sense of ownership to where if I could have a JL honorary Uso, I'd buy it in a minute. I'm not going to buy it because I'm not going to put a SZ.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they could customize, I think that's another great win they could have.
Cool.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. They definitely should do that. And in fact, you should get a cut, JL.
For coming up with the idea. Yeah.
But let me mute myself real quick while I call Paul real quick.
Got him on speed dial, do you?
You're going to call.
I'm going to do Paul's in the gym with. I'm going to try Stephanie real quick.
There you go.
Well, if I had the connection, I would just take the credit myself. So, no. Oh, he's got to hold this. He's got to hold the Steph. Is this going to happen? For those of you on the audio version, you can't hear this, you can't.
I think he muted it. Yeah, I think he muted
it, but he's
25% will be fine. Thank you.
There you go. Cool.
Cutting deals.
Good night to you too.
Yeah, awesome.
Justin LaBar cutting deals.
25% coming my way.
25%. You're going to be rocking alligator shoes next time we see you. Hold them down. If you're on the audio version, you missed quite the show, by the way.
Absolutely.
So leave us a 5-star review anyways, though. I don't know. Speaking of video versions, though, Edge cuts a video package and says that he loves wrestling, but he can't quit. But it's impacting his family life. But he says that he's going to come out swinging in his match with Finn Balor and make Finn quit. Jimmy, this was a scene where, and I alluded to this earlier, where he talked about how since he's come back, Edge, all of his character has been stripped away. And it's just him. And this is another one of those things where I'm like, why are you saying that? You're admitting to me that everything you're doing isn't real. Why did you say that to me? Am I overthinking it when I get crabby about stuff like that?
Well, maybe to a certain extent, I will say you're getting a little bit over analytical, but I love the fact that he said this version of Edge that you're seeing is really Adam. It's really him. So what you're seeing him going through and all the emotions that he's showing, especially in this promo, which sounded so authentic, it sounded so real. It came off as, it didn't come off as those, as people like to say, scripted promos. It felt like him talking, and I believe a lot of it was him putting his input into that promo, and it came off really good. I thought it was money. He says, I'm little things they said, I'm a one-man gang and that kind of stuff. Then you guys can't, even all four of you together, can't make me say I quit. You know what I mean? And he made it feel like a war, and it felt real, for lack of a better term, because I hate using the F word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we all know that pro wrestling is predetermined. Sorry to break it to you folks, but at the same time, when you come across like this, this was close to Academy Award performance, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or at least, Emmys. We're talking TV.
Yeah, Justin, I make the point about the character stuff. I have to ask questions sometimes to try to get certain responses, but I have to agree with Jimmy. I thought his delivery here, I think Edge does these better than anybody as far as emoting and this kind of stuff.
He does. It's great that he's got a WWE ring in his training facility, so he's in the ring and you can get him to do that. And yeah, he does. He has such a real to his story, and the guy was medically disqualified and retired, and so there's so much real with him. He's a legend, so there's just that credibility there. It works. It really does. He's a good promo anyways, but then he has the toppings, the tasty toppings to toss on that he's a legend, that he was medically disqualified. We know his wife is Beth Phoenix, and it's just stuff that I don't want to say it's low hanging fruit, but it's just stuff that he has to work at his luxury that just brings it all alive. And then the most important part is the benefit that it is to Finn Balor, the benefit that it is to Damian Priest, the benefit that it is to Judgment Day, that he's getting, this group, when Edge got kicked out of this group, and it was speculated, Cody got injured, and maybe that's why they got Edge out of it, because they needed a baby, whatever. At the beginning of the summer, Judgment Day looked dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
They have become, Bloodline's got Fridays. Judgment Day is the group on Mondays. They are running the show, and they are getting heat, and that's what it's all about. They are getting heat.
Yes.
So they have rebounded tremendously while adding members. And so this was a great promo. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm still fuzzy on my prediction. I'm still fuzzy on does Edge get the pin? Is that the best way to go here? That's it. Right. I'll do that on Busted Open on Friday. But this was a great promo by, again, Hall of Famer.
Cool.
You talk about the low hanging fruit, as my good friend Evan T. Mack would say. What's wrong with the low hanging fruit? It's right there. Just take it. So it may be low hanging fruit, but guess what? It's still fruit. It's still there. Why climb to the top of the tree when you got fruit right there at the bottom? So we get Alexa Bliss and Io Sky to end the show. They're fighting, and when Bliss is about to win, Damage Control gets involved, and Bianca single-handedly fights them off, or tries to anyways, and fails. The distraction allows Io to get the advantage and hit the over-the-moon salt, giving Damage Control 2 wins on the night. There's a post-match beatdown, and Asuka limps to the ring with a kendo stick and tries to help, but it's no use. The bad guys beat down the good guys, and we end with Bayley atop the ladder holding the title. Felt like maybe this all happened a little early. This last part drug out a little long, but it turned out fine, I guess. Jimmy, some people say if you stand tall right before the premium live event, it's the kiss of death. Is this the kiss of death for Bayley?
It would appear so, because usually that is the case if you're talking, especially old school booking, where the heel is standing tall, or at least standing very tall on top of the ladder, holding up the title, is a sure sign that on the pay-per-view they won't be winning the title. But then again, this is a different situation, because her cohorts have the tag titles. So with Bayley holding the Raw Women's Championship, that would be a very interesting kind of a dynamic, almost like a female Raw version of the Bloodline. Where they are in control of all the titles on Monday night. So who knows? This could be a time to change that habit of standing tall on the show, on the go home show, and then not standing so tall at the pay-per-view, maybe at the or premium live event. Maybe at the premium live event we get a little bit of a change.
Possibly. Justin, any takeaways from this final segment here?
No, again, kind of what was said, like normally it looks like the heel faction standing tall, like they're gonna meet their demise, but to all the points Jimmy said, I don't know if that's an automatic for Saturday, but again, I'm okay with having that question in my mind because that is that much more intrigue going into Saturday of, okay, who's winning, who's losing in which matches. So, yeah, no, it was what it was. I just, again, I want to say I like the consistency. I just like the fact that you can tell these shows have we have a plan that we want control, damage control to execute throughout the show. We have a plan that we want for the blood. It's nice just to see consistency and that there is a plan in place. And I'll leave it at that. This might be because Extreme Rules is always kind of it's the most extreme night ever in WWE. It's a very manufactured night. I am super jacked for this show.
Yeah.
I like it being a Saturday show, and every match pretty much on the card has got story built into it, and also has a gimmick into it. So that makes it, I'm intrigued. This might be the most intriguing Extreme Rules WWE has ever done. Maybe I'd have to go back and look at all of them and Wikipedia it, but there's a lot.
I'm so glad you said that because I was literally thinking that as we were going through this. This might be the most excited I've ever been for an Extreme Rules, and because I don't know if there's been one. They've never been big shows, but the fact that these are all rivalries that are heated up, they're all rivalries that have extreme, as you alluded to last week, that they're all matches that fit the rivalry. It's not just random. Oh, we're gonna do a kendo stick on a pole match. Okay.
Yeah, like Edge versus Finn, I Quit match. Again, normally I Quit would be, I think of I Quit, I think of Rock and Mankind after the whatever. So, Finn and Edge haven't had that, but Edge put the context in of you guys keep trying to make me disappear. I will not quit, but I will make you quit. So okay, I buy it. I Quit match between Finn and Edge. Every match there's context. The fight pit, the ladder match, the
strap match,
the analogy of the ladder. You're right. The strap match. Everything has like symbolic meaning. It seems so brilliant, but at the base of it, it's just basic.
Yeah,
I'm at a loss for words. I'm so excited for this Extreme Rules because it actually matters.
And you mentioned the I Quit match again, and I should have mentioned this earlier because you're thinking about something Edge said in his promo where he said, "You'll never make me say I quit." But who's to say that a family member doesn't come down with Edge in a perilous situation and throw in the towel for him?
Right.
Martha Hart threw that towel in for Brett and Bob, and here comes Beth Phoenix throwing the towel in for.
There you go.
I was going back to the Mankind Rock one where they took the recording of him saying "I quit" in a promo and played it.
I quit.
Yeah, I mean, they could just use the audio from Edge saying "quit" today, right?
Well,
anyway,
hey.
it's me.
I like Beth better coming down and saying "I quit" for Edge. That would be a touch.
I want to hear everyone be groan in disappointment.
Well, then we get Edge and Beth versus a Finn and Rhea.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, wouldn't it be
Dom
and
oh god, yeah, yes. Dom's like her little puppy dog. Yeah, I mean, God, they're Survivor Series. I don't know.
Yeah, she'll whisper in his ear, accept the match. Accept the match. Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, this is. I think it's so funny for years, and I know we got to wrap up because we're going a little long, but for so many years it was, why can't certain things be built up a certain way? And we were always just told, well, it's harder than you think. And you go, okay, well, I guess I've never booked a show. But then you see Triple H, take control. And so it's like, wow, this is just incredible. Week in and week out. And maybe it is harder. And maybe Triple H is just way more brilliant than I could imagine him being. But I'm just like, wow, this is so great right off the bat. Just, I don't know. It's amazing. It's what a cool time to be a wrestling fan.
At the base of pro wrestling, it's supposed to be very simple. Sometimes the simplest things are what it is.
Right.
You know?
The KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Well, I think that does it for us. Thank you to everyone who's joined us here. Again, if you're on the audio version, leave a 5-star review and leave a nice little note about Triple J. I always like to check those and see if people say nice things about us. So say something nice on Apple or Spotify, but also if you're on YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're on YouTube or wherever we're streaming to now, whether it be Twitch or Twitter or whatever, thanks for joining us. Stalking you, Bernie, Baby Ice, Ricky, Ian, Bernie, Steven, Night One, Alex. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Dream Realm. But before we go, Justin, where can the world find you and all the stuff you're working on?
At Justin LaBar on Twitter, on Instagram, and I'll be back on Friday. I think it's probably going to be 11 a.m. Friday, Busted Open Radio Channel 156 on Sirius XM. Spar with LaBar. I will make my final official Extreme Rules predictions. So that'll be fun to do. So yeah, and of course, always tweet all of us. Let us know, where are you listening to this podcast? How are you listening? Leave the comment. We'll do all the things. We'll promote it. We'll like it. We'll share it. So, and then I think Jimmy and I are back Saturday night after Extreme Rules. I don't know who's with us.
Yeah,
because Jack, it's not you.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I don't know if it's just Jimmy. Maybe it's just Jimmy. Maybe they just gave Jimmy and I the keys to the castle for the night. I don't know.
Oh man, that's going to be a complete train wreck.
You might. I don't know.
It's fine.
Jimmy and I on a Saturday night. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Yeah.
Jimmy, where can the world find you and what you're working on?
Well, obviously, you can find me on all my social media platforms at Jimmy Korderas, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, that thing. And you can find me here on Wrestling Inc. podcasts after Raw, after AEW Dynamite, and then again this Saturday after Extreme Rules. And you can catch me on all my social media platforms with my ref and rants, where the Canadian heat magnet seems to draw a lot of attention sometimes. And you can get your ref and rant t-shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Yeah, you've been getting written up about in Wrestling Inc. recently for some of the things you tweet out. So,
yeah.
By the way, if you want to follow Jimmy, follow him on Twitter, but also follow at Wrestling Inc. and make sure to check out the after show tomorrow for NXT, the after show on Wednesday for Dynamite, the after shows on Friday for SmackDown and Rampage, and of course the after show for Extreme Rules, all here on Wrestling Inc. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media, assuming Alfred Glenn and Issa don't hunt me down and beat me up for everything I said earlier today. But hey, if they listen this long, leave a 5-star review. That does it for us. We will see you guys next time.